Hello everyone, welcome to the June wrap up. In bed, I'm very cozied up and I'm finally able to do this. It's been such a hectic June, it's been crazy, and as expected, I haven't read that much, but I have watched a lot of movies, so it kind of balances out. I read 4 books and I watched 10 movies, and I'm kind of like excusing myself because of that, because I didn't just watch like any movies. I watched a lot of movies that I've been meaning to watch for a long time, so it's very intentional, and I really like learned a lot from the movies I watched, so I'm okay with reading just 4 books. We're gonna get started. Let's talk about the books first. The first book we're talking about, and I know I keep saying her name, it's literally, even I'm just like, am I just reading her this entire year? But I read Vilest Things by Chloe Gong. Chloe Gong, my queen. I love her so much. She delivers every single time. This is the second book in the Flesh and False Gods trilogy. I started this trilogy earlier in the year, again, because my friend was just like, you have to read this, you have to read this. And I was like, girl, got it. Finally read it, and I really enjoyed the first book. The entire world and the plot is just so interesting. If you've never heard of this trilogy, it's essentially set in this like futuristic Hong Kong-esque city called San where people are able to switch bodies. So you can jump into other people's bodies, you can take your soul and jump into other people's bodies. And within this city, I think this is every couple of years, there's a competition where 80 plus players fight to the death, and we enter the book basically on 2 characters who are entering this competition, and what continues after that. The first book is great. I still stand by the first book being great, but the second book, Vilest Things, like damn, it's such a good book. If oh my god, it's like Myrtle's Longings sets the base, and then Vilest Things just like goes for it. It's like the base is there, now we're gonna have fun. Every single thing that happens in this book, I was just like, what? Because I expected one thing. First of all, the way this first book ends is just nuts, and then the way the second book starts, because I'm like, okay, this is gonna happen right at the start, and then it doesn't happen until the end. And then I'm like, okay, this is gonna happen towards the end, and it happens right at the beginning. And I'm like, excuse me. Like, and I'm like, okay, the arc of this book is going to be basically this, and then that entire arc completes in the first 100 pages, and I'm like, so what is the rest of the book? It's epic. There's so much going on, there's so much you can't predict. That last few chapters, I was just like, wait, what? She's so good at this. Like, it's also such a complex world, the political system, and I am obsessed with the socio-political commentary in this book. I feel like there's a lot of talk about things that I don't see other books talking about. So yeah, pick up Vilest Things. It's sort of like, in order to take down corruption, you kind of gotta get real corrupted. So I'm really enjoying this series. I'm so excited for the third book. I read this on a I think I read this perfectly on time, because the last book in the trilogy is coming out in August, so I'm like counting down the days. I am so excited to read this last book. So check out this series. It's so underrated. I've heard like no one talk about it, and I want more people to talk about it. I want more people to read it. So if anything about this like appeals to you, go check it out, give it a read, and see what you think. I also want to add that Chloe Gong's writing from adult fiction to YA, like for her YA fantasy writing and her adult fantasy writing is very different. Like, there is a very marked complexity that she has in her adult writing that isn't there in her YA, and I feel like that's such a cool thing to like see so specifically. She still has her like signature writing, like I can still tell it's her writing, but there's a level of complexity that is so intentionally there now, and I'm obsessed. But yes, read the series. So the second book is the again the only physical book I read this month, and again it's my book club read. If you've watched my staycation vlog, then you probably saw me reading this, and that's The Road to Tender Hearts by Annie Hartnett. This was such an interesting pick for our book club, because both my co-host and we were basically like, we wanted to pick something that wasn't too heavy, because we had read a really heavy book. We read quite a heavy book last month, so we was like, and we've been reading really heavy books basically since we started the book club, so we were like, let's pick something a little bit lighter but also with a lot to discuss, and we decided to give this one a shot. This book, everyone had like, there were people who outright hated the book in the book club, and then there were people who were like, I actually really liked it, and then there were people who were in the middle. I was the person in the middle because this is a very bittersweet book. There's a lot of dark stuff in here, but there's also like some really fun sweet stuff. If you like that sort of a sentiment, you're gonna like it. So like one of our members put it this way, she's like, if you like Japanese literature and how they do like the sort of light-hearted cozy books, but then they also have really dark themes that show up in these light-hearted books, you're gonna like this. So we also noticed that the members who didn't like that sort of Japanese literature didn't like the book at all, and the people who did like the book were people who tended to like these type of Japanese lit books. So yeah, that's the way that the book was received. Like for me personally, I did like the book. I didn't love it though, but I didn't hate it. I'm kind of in the middle because I have this like weird affinity to American Southern like nostalgic elements. The sort of landscape that this book lives within is an aesthetic that I have an affinity to, so I did enjoy that. But there's so many elements of the plot and the characters that I didn't like that I was like, oh, I don't really want to be feeling these feelings. And so yeah, this is like a sweet 3 stars for me. I don't think I can rate it any higher. That being said, the meeting for this book was epic. I loved the book club meeting. We had so much fun. We bought in some road trip snacks. I laughed like more than I've laughed this entire month. That was when I laughed the most. I was literally about to cry. It was so hilarious. We had so much fun discussing this book. So yeah, we definitely don't regret picking this book. It was just such a fun experience, like hearing everyone's mixed opinions. So yes, The Road to Tender Hearts. The third book is one that I never thought I would return to, like genuinely, and that is Funny Story by Emily Henry. So I was a big Emily Henry fan. I read Beach Read, and then I read, what was the second book, People We Meet on Vacation, when it came out. I read Book Lovers when it came out, basically, and Happy Place when it came out. Like every year, no matter what, I was anticipating the new Emily Henry book. That was the book that I would wait for it to come out, and the day it came out, I would like reserve a day just to read it. Like it was so special for me to read the new Emily Henry book. But then Funny Story came out. Funny Story came out, and I couldn't get into it. I DNF'd it. Like, I remember DNFing it and being like, no, Emily Henry, like, I like your books, why? So I remember feeling really betrayed by this book, because when I first read it, I think I had a very specific expectation of what it was going to be like, and it did not deliver. I was not feeling a connection to the characters. I did not feel a connection to the plot. I didn't like the plot, essentially. I was like, I don't like the setup, so I gave up on it. I DNF'd it. I never thought I would go back to it. But when we went on this road trip, my sister was like, I want to buddy read a book with you. She chose Funny Story, and I thought, hey, why not? Because since my DNFing Funny Story, I've actually had a lot of my bookish friends who we have similar taste have come up to me and be like, but I really like Funny Story. I've heard a lot of people tell me that they don't like any of her other books, but they really liked Funny Story. And I was like, okay, maybe I should give it a second shot. And that's what I did. I gave it a second shot, and guess what? I really loved Funny Story. Like low-key, I think Funny Story is my favorite Emily Henry book, which is crazy. Like, I DNF'd this book and thought I would never go back, and here I am back. Besides the fact that it has a lot of tropes that I just generally like, which I like close proximity, but it was also just great. Like, I loved the characters. I loved the setting that they were in. I think this book does a very good job of giving both individual characters their own arcs, like really fulfilling arcs. Like even towards the end, I was like, even if they didn't end up together, this would still be a great book, because you're seeing two characters who kind of have just explored themselves, and the setting lends a really good sort of a background for these characters to do all of their whimsical things. There is a very much like idealistic tone to it that takes away from some of the more realistic elements of the book, but I think it balances out because it's a romance. Like if it was way too realistic, I feel like it would be too heavy for me to really enjoy it and feel like that, you know, like, oh, it's so cute, oh, that's like a very cute setting. Like I feel like you need a balance of both. So this book does a good job of having some of that idealistic sort of a setting, while also giving you like realistic relationships and realistic conversations and results to different like situations. Lastly, I read a graphic novel, and that's The Once and Future Riot by Sacco. He basically does graphic journalism, and his were the graphic novels I first read, and I was like, oh my god, maybe this genre is for me. And I started reading more graphic novels, so I always return back to him and see what he has going on. This particular one focuses on the race riots in India, particularly in Uttar Pradesh, I believe in 2015. What he does that I think is so unique is he takes you sort of, you're able to see things that you can't see when it's filmed. He can explicitly draw it and show it to you the way that these people have actually gone through it. And he does this thing where he does character like portraits, almost like the people that he meets. He gives them like, when they tell their story, he's able to draw out what they're saying and give it a life of its own that I feel like you don't get with the news or even with fiction. It feels like a really interesting middle that you can kind of sit in. With this particular topic, it's one that I've obviously had very much actively in my mind, but it's still a very peripheral thing. I still didn't know as much as I should have known, or I feel like I should know. And this book gave me a really good basis of it, because he doesn't just tell you, okay, so this happened. He takes you to the root of it, and he shows you the aftermath of it. He shows you the way it's perceived by multiple different people. He gives you a very comprehensive basis upon which you can then learn more about this. So I've seen a lot of critique of graphic journalism itself, as well as this particular book, saying that it isn't the full story. Well, I feel like expecting it to be the full story is the mistake. Like, you can't expect a book like this to be the entire story, and this is obviously someone who's coming from the outside trying to tell this story, so you have to also give that grace and understand that this can be a basis upon which you can learn more. It's time for the movies. I'm very excited to do the movies this month. I've been watching such good movies, and we're gonna start with the first one. We're gonna go in order of basically what I watched. And the first one is Northanger Abbey, the 2007 one, directed by John Jones. So I have this thing about like the Austen classics. I know that everyone's very close to like the recent adaptations, but I really like the older adaptations. This one funnily came out in 2007, but it really gives off the 1990s vibe. It stars Felicity Jones as the main character. I don't think this is objectively a good movie. I think it's like, it's good because I know the story already, because I've read the book. I know that, okay, this is this. But if I feel like if you didn't read the book and you tried to watch this movie, you'd be like, what the hell is going on? Because Northanger Abbey as a book is hilarious. It's a satirical take on a gothic novel, and if you haven't read Northanger Abbey, it's hilarious. Just give it a shot. It's Jane Austen basically making fun of gothic novels at the time through our main character. And the movie, it does it in such a hilarious way, because like our main character just has these bizarre dreams, and the way that they do it, it's funny because you're in like this serious historical movie, and then it's like suddenly a really quirky dream, and you're like, what the hell is going on? So it's fun. I would say that I feel like the lacking thing could be fixed. Like, this lack of seriousness, this lack of depth in the movie could have been fixed if it was a mini-series, like the Pride and Prejudice mini-series from 1995, which is the best adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. Like, you can come for me. Like, this was, I think it's way better than the 2005 adaptation, which I know people are gonna fight me on, but like, trust me, when it's a mini series and it's a book to screen adaptation, it's just better. I feel like this one could have been way better if they had done it that way, because like, we spent 2 minutes in the Abbey. Like, come on. Like, she spends days in the Abbey. But yeah, it was fun. It was also really fun to see like familiar faces on screen doing like this random niche movie. Next we have a potential favorite, and that is Beautiful City, directed by Asghar Farhadi from 2004. This is a Persian movie that, again, I loved Asghar Farhadi's Separation, but I didn't really have anything else on his filmography in my radar. And then Beautiful City kind of came up, and I was like, I really want to watch this, purely because there was just this scene that I saw on like Instagram of the main female lead making a sandwich, and I was like, I want to watch that. Absolutely no idea why. Watched it, and oh my god, oh my god, Beautiful City. Beautiful City is such an interesting movie. Like, I didn't know that all his movies have open endings, and I literally ended this movie and I was like, no freaking way. I was like, where's the rest of the movie? Like, what the hell? But then, like, as time went by, I was like, oh my god, that's so profound. And I can't stop thinking about the movie. I feel like if it didn't have that ending, it would have escaped my mind. But there's just so much about this movie that is so special, and it's done in such a subtle way. It starts in juvie, and we follow this young boy who has been accused of a certain crime, and he's awaiting capital punishment. So he turns 18 and he's immediately moved to the adult facility, and he's now pretty much guaranteed a death sentence. And his best friend in prison is released at the same time, and he decides to try and fight and save his friend from the death sentence because he doesn't believe that he deserves the death sentence. And then he finds his friend's sister, and they both basically go on this journey to try to convince the only man that can stop this boy's death sentence. Essentially, it doesn't feel like there is a lot of plot movement. It doesn't feel like there's a plot sometimes, but you get to the end and you're like, wait, what? Like, you feel how attached you are to the characters only when you get to the end. That last scene, I wish I could talk about it, but it's definitely a spoiler, so I won't. That last scene, I feel like it's never ended for me. Like, in my brain, I feel like that scene is just on repeat. Like, it's still going and going and going and going and going, and it just never ends. And there's such a profound meaning to that. If you haven't heard of Beautiful City, or you haven't watched it, and you like Farhadi or you like Persian films, you have to go check it out. This is a 5-star. Funnily enough, when I finished the movie, it was a 3-star, and I was like, okay, I guess it was good. And then, like, a few days went by and I was like, oh my god, it was really good. And then I upped it to a 4, and like, as time went by, I was like, wait, I think I love this movie. And anything that in hindsight gets better is, to me, like, a new favorite. Next is Inside the Yellow Cocoon Shell, which came out in 2023. It's directed by Pham Thien An. It's a Thai movie, and it's a really long movie. It's beautiful, but the thing is, I don't know if it was a case of expectations, but I didn't like this movie. Like, it's really not for me. Like, oh my god, even thinking of it kind of gives me the chills. There's like a really creepy vibe to it, and there were a few moments of like, okay, I guess that gives a meaning, but then, like, there's a lot of moments where I was like, can I stop watching this? Then I still finished it. I'm still proud of myself. I think it was really long. It was like 3 hours or so, and nothing much happens. Like, it's a lot of nothing. It's a lot of beautiful landscapes, but nothing, and there's only so much nothing I can handle. And I think if you like this particular atmosphere, I can see someone loving this movie. For me, the atmosphere felt very suffocating and like dissonant and scary, so I didn't really like it. I gave this a 2.5 stars. Next, we have a 2025 movie called Mile and Kicks. It's directed by Chandler Levac, and this is an interesting pick. I picked this movie. Okay, Roderick's in it, by the way. Devin Bostick is in this, and I think what was her name? Is it Barbie Ferreira? I'm probably wrong. America Ferreira? I don't know. This movie, it's set in 2011, so it's a really weird feeling because, like, 2011 just isn't old enough to be nostalgic in my mind. But then watching it on screen, I'm like, whoa, this is like, oh my god, remember when, oh my god, this. It's sort of like seeing the world before the pandemic is nostalgic. And this movie does such a good job. I'm like, how did they, like, nailed it? It feels like it came out like in 2011, and it came out in 2025. But it follows our main character, who works as a music copywriter. She writes about music. So this is set in Canada, and she decides to move to Quebec in order to pursue writing about a particular artist and an album that she's passionate about. In the midst of all this, she ends up encountering this indie band, this underground band that she falls in love with. And it's the thing is, I did not like the plot. Like, I hated the male lead that she falls for. I was like girl, oh my god, like how can your standard go that low? I was like, if my standard ever goes that low, like I need someone to like whack me in the head with a spade, because what, it was crazy. I did not like a single decision she made. I was like, you are making really stupid decision, until the end was, thing is, it was a little bit too late. Like it was too late. Like by that point I was like, okay, I get it, but also like you had the entire movie to make one good decision and you didn't. Like, purely for the aesthetic and the nostalgia, I gave this like 3 stars, but I gotta say I was really disappointed by the plot. Like, Devon Bostick tried to save it, it just wasn't enough for me. Next, I did a rewatch of Parasite, directed by Bong Joon-ho, 2019. I'm sure you guys know Parasite. So the first time Parasite came out, funnily, I was in uni and everyone was talking about it. I was studying humanities, so it was a very big thing that was talked about. We literally talked about it in class. And I watched it, but I don't think I understood it the way that I wanted to. I remember finishing it and thinking, okay, but like, okay, like I didn't really get it in the way that I wanted to get it. There were particular scenes that really stuck with me that I was like, ooh, okay, wow, I've never thought of something like this, I've never thought of it this way. And obviously the plot movement was really interesting. But rewatching this again, I was mind blown. I don't know why. Like, I knew what was gonna happen, but it still was like 10 times better. I guess the first time I watched it, I was so burdened by expectations that I didn't see it clearly. And the second time I watched it, I had none of that. So I saw a lot of things clearly that I hadn't seen before. And I realized like the high acclaim for this movie, I kind of understood it this time around, because there's so much going on, and the plot, the way that every single thing that happens is so intentional and plays into the social commentary so beautifully, and how one thing, like one particular scene, isn't doing just one thing, it's doing like 10 different things, and you can see it in like a bunch of different angles, and if you shift the angle, you're watching a totally different movie. And it was just so interesting. It, like, this time around, it made me want to watch it again. I was like, I want to watch this in another year and see how I perceive it differently now. I also think I was able to appreciate a lot more of the cinematography, having watched more movies, literally just knowing what good cinematography looks like, and then watching this made me appreciate it more. So yeah, Parasite was great the second time around. Next, I watched Flowers of Shanghai, which is a Taiwanese movie from 1998, directed by Hu Shaoxun. I think I spoke about Hu Shaoxun in the last in one of my last videos, but I really love his cinematography. One of my favorite directors ever, let alone Taiwanese directors. I love Taiwanese movies. Flowers of Shanghai, oh my god, this movie was weird. If you've never heard of it, it's basically set in these flower houses that existed in Taiwan in like the 1800s. And again, this was very much in line with, I was reading Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong at the time, which is also this around the same sort of a landscape, I would say. And like, this movie has a particular tone to it and a particular energy, and the entire movie is set in these flower houses. You don't really know how much time has passed between each sequence. You're kind of following, you have like one sequence and then it moves on to the next sequence, but you don't know how much time has passed, and you don't actually get introduced to anything properly. It's all happening very peripherally. You're kind of just watching these characters have tea and then talk to each other, and then like there's some subtleties to it. Sometimes there's an explosive scene. There's a very, it's like this the whole time, the same volume, and then suddenly there's a oh, and then they go back to this. When I finished the movie, I really thought, okay, that was okay. Like, I don't really have much to say. Like, it was okay. And then time passed, like a day went by, and I was like, wait a minute, that was kind of genius. And then a little bit more time passed, and I was like, oh my god, like, why was that so good? Like, it's annoying how the plot doesn't really, it's so annoying how like the plot doesn't really move. There isn't a lot of emotional shifting, there isn't a lot of like things going on, but for some reason it was so good. Like, I don't know what it is, but it was so good. The subtleties, I think it's just the subtleness of the characters' emotions, how they're able to convey so much in the smallest actions and the like the tiniest bit of dialogue. You can feel like the entire room has shifted, the entire emotion has shifted. Like, they do it so well too. I think this is definitely one of those movies where it's like, I can see a lot of people being like, why would you watch this shit? But it's so good. Like, if you are into that sort of subtle emotional change and you like the tone of the movie right when you start, you're going to hopefully feel what I felt. But yes, I really enjoyed Flowers of Shanghai. I gave it 4 stars. I upped it, so I gave it like 3 in the beginning and then I upped it to 4 because as time went by I was like, that was actually really good. Next, I watched another movie that I like had initially given up on, but I decided to give it another shot, and that's Napoleon Dynamite by directed by Jared Hess, and it came out in 2004. Which is funny because it's set in the 70s or 80s, I believe, but I thought it was a movie that came out in the 70s or 80s because it just looked so authentic, but it's come out in 2004. I feel like Napoleon Dynamite is the template for like fun cinematography nowadays. If you've watched it, you know what I mean. I also like that I watched this while around the time that I read The Road to Tender Hearts, because it has that same sort of Americana 80s aesthetic that I kind of had in mind. Napoleon Dynamite it's basically Americana core. Like, if you like the American 80s like suburban southern aesthetic, you're gonna enjoy this. It's fun, it's hilarious. There's nothing too profound about it, but I think the subtlety of the messaging is really sweet. Like, I came to the end of the movie and I was like, okay, I kind of get it, because like in the beginning you're like, Napoleon is such an idiot, like you don't want to watch Napoleon, even the way he talks is annoying. I was like, I don't know if I can handle this for an entire movie. Like, can he talk like a normal person? And then you get to the end of the movie and you're like, oh, Napoleon, like Napoleon, it's so sweet. And I really enjoyed it. I also like that I watched it while reading this book. The next movie I watched was A Knight's Tale. It came out in 2001, directed by Brian Helgeland, and it is such a fun movie. This falls under the historically inaccurate movies that I love. If you like the medieval sort of knights and you like the humorous historical movie, you're gonna love this. They literally sing We Will Rock You. Is that even the name of the song? But essentially they sing like modern pop songs in this like super medieval setting, and it's so fun. And the story essentially it's like a modern, fun, inaccurate retelling in a medieval setting of Don Quixote. It's basically Don Quixote. If you don't know Don Quixote, then it's in this time period where, you know, the knights, they're fighting and there's like jousting competitions, and in order for a knight to fight they have to be noble, and the knights they're all catered to by their squires. So you have these like essentially peasants who take care of your armor, make sure you're like, you know, they're like little manservants who do everything for you. And our main lead essentially is one of these manservants. There's 3 of them for this one knight, and their knight is basically dead. Instead of just reporting him dead, they decide that one of them is going to pretend to be the knight, and they're going to just pretend to be noble, and that's just how they're gonna make money. And it's hilarious, it's so funny, it's so fun. You also get to see like these seasoned actors that we now see on screen playing like really noble roles, doing like these silly funny things, and it's just a fun movie. If you like this sort of a medieval, inaccurate, hilarious, sort of funny retelling, you're gonna enjoy this. Next, I watched a rom-com, and that's No Reservations, 2007, directed by Scott Hicks. And oh my god, I had seen this around a little bit. I love me a good rom-com, and I think I really needed like a good rom-com watch, and I decided to go for it. And I didn't really know anything about it besides the fact that both our main characters were playing chefs. That's all I knew. And then I started and I was like, whoa. But it was really good. I think this is one of those really balanced rom-coms where you're getting like the romance and it's done so artfully. There's a lot of great chemistry between our leads. I need good chemistry is the basis for any good romance in my books, especially a rom-com, and there's such good chemistry between our 2 leads in this movie. And then you also get all the cooking stuff, which I really liked. And then on top of that, basically our main female lead's sister suddenly dies and leaves her with her daughter, and she has to kind of she's a head chef at this like top restaurant in New York, and her life basically shifts around the same time, where she's like taken time off to figure out like this big change in her life. Another competing head chef essentially shows up in her kitchen, and they start this weird little rivalry slash friendship, and this kind of what develops, and it's really sweet. I honestly wish we had more movies like this where it was more balanced, because I feel like this is one of those movies where a lot of dramatic things happens, but you don't feel the drama. It feels very chill, it feels very relaxed, it feels very like much like this. And the relationship between our main leads, like the romance, feels easier. It doesn't feel like it's forced or it's intense or it's too much. Like, it feels very natural, and I like when rom-coms do that, and this one did that, so I really enjoyed it. I gave this 4 stars, but I did give it a like. I gave it a heart. We're ending on a heavier note, but this one I actually went and watched in theaters, which I'm so happy to have gotten that opportunity to do that. And that is The Voice of Hind, Rajab, which came out in 2025, and it's directed by Kauthar bin Hania. I give this 5 stars, obviously, and I knew I wanted to watch this. I knew it was going to be heavy, I knew it was going to be intense, but when I heard that it was going to be screening here, like very limited screening here in Sri Lanka, I decided that, okay, we're going to do this. And all of my friends and I, we went for the screening. The movie itself is very close to life. Like, you really do get to see what happened when the Red Cross staff received the call from Hind and from her family, and you get to watch it all unfold. And I think, like, the thing that really remains with me was this sort of haunting feeling that I kept happening to me. I kept thinking this throughout the entire movie. I was like, this is still happening. I was like, not only is this still happening, this must have happened hundreds of times to all these types of people in all these types of situations in Palestine. And my brain was just like, it was really hard for me to comprehend that we were only getting to see this one story, but then there's the pain of this is multiplied like 1,000, hundreds of thousands, millionfold, I can say. And it's really scary to bear that feeling. But on top of that, when you get to the end of the movie, like, I think I was feeling all these things and I was going through it myself, and I definitely, like, a lot of people were crying. Everyone was basically crying around me. But at the end of the movie, there was this moment of like collective solemnity. There was this moment where the movie ends, and when the credits start rolling in any movie, every single theater experience I've had, every single time I've been in a cinema, when the credits start rolling, almost everyone gets up. Right? Almost everyone is up. Like, people are up. With The Voice of Hind Rajab, no one got up. I want to emphasize that. No one got up for like 10 minutes. 10 minutes straight throughout the credits. Dead silence. No one was even speaking to each other. Dead silence. Everyone's just sitting on their seats, completely shocked and completely like taken in. It just, like, you end this movie with this feeling that, like, of helplessness, like, what can I do? And also this feeling of like, this is like sitting here in silence and like letting this movie completely absorb me, and mourning the loss of not just Hind but her entire family and all of the people just like Hind who would have, not people, all these children like Hind who would have been murdered in such horrendous situations. And there's just this like helplessness to everything that happens in the movie. The way that Hind is actually murdered, and how close the ambulance staff actually get, and how they are murdered as well. Everything that happens, you end with this like extremely heavy feeling of, I want to know what I can do. And I think everyone just sitting there was just this collective feeling of helplessness of what are we doing. And honestly, there's no positive spin on this. There's no full circle moment on a movie like this. You come out of it and you feel this helplessness, and it really renewed my efforts for Palestine. I think obviously like boycotting is already like become just a natural part of my life. BDS has just become a natural part of my life, but it's so easy to let news become peripheral when it's not happening to you. And this was a really good reminder for me to remember that this is not peripheral news, that this is really happening and it's still going on, and the world is slowly starting to let it become peripheral news. But yeah, that was a really good reminder to end the month on. So those were the 10 movies and the 4 books that I consumed this month. I am looking forward to more reading in July, inshallah. So I'm actually really excited about reading more in July, but I'm also excited to tackle more of my watch list. I was really proud of being able to intentionally watch everything I want to watch in June, and I want to keep that going because I think it's so easy to just randomly rewatch sitcoms or like just watch things that don't have any substance in your life. As much as they're comfort watches and they kind of fill in the blanks, I still want to slowly get through the films and the books that I really intentionally want to read. So that's my wrap up for the month. I can't wait to see you guys in my next video. I hope you really enjoyed this. If you did, give it a like and subscribe if you like more, if you want to watch more of my content, and obviously click on the bell so you're notified every single time I post. Comment down below what are any movies or books that you consumed this month that you enjoyed. Is there anything on this list that like you're interested in watching or reading as well? So yeah, that's it for me for June. I'll see you guys in my next video. Good night. Bye bye. Au revoir. Assalamu alaikum.